Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Maverick Files here on the MoneyShift YouTube channel. And today we are going to be answering your questions. Now, I wanted to thank everybody for submitting your questions. I think we got over 20 questions on the YouTube channel, and as a result, we're going to be breaking this video into a two-part series. So this isn't just one super long video that no one wants to stay through. So without further ado, we got a lot of questions to answer, so I'm going to give you guys the keys. Oh, and we upgraded our audio, guys. Here it is. We're going to be putting in these microphones in our ears so that you guys can actually hear what is going on in the car, which hopefully will better answer some of your questions in this video and in future videos. So, with that said, here are the keys. Let's get to it. All right, let's get into it. We are behind the wheel of the Ford Maverick Hybrid, and I got my cell phone with your questions on it. So the first question comes by way of Justin Trinidad. He asks, how many miles do you have on it, and are you still having issues with it? So to answer your question, we have 3,513 miles on it, and we are having only one issue still, well, two issues still with this car. Issue number one is that vent is still making a noise. It's more of a ringing noise. I'll try to get into it in a later video. Hopefully I can get that on camera for you with these new headphones here. Hopefully it's more clear, but it definitely still nags me. Now, this might not be an issue with your Maverick. Maybe it is isolated to just mine, but it certainly still bothers me. Issue number two is there are moments, and maybe we'll be able to capture it as we're driving, where the engine, when it's crossing over from gas to electric or electric to gas, it shudders like the motor mount is broken, and it can be really violent, like a really big shudder. Now, I don't know if this is isolated or normal for Ford hybrid drivetrains, but I will say in other hybrid vehicles I've driven, this has never been a problem. This isn't something I've had to deal with. I've had multiple miles behind Prius and other vehicles like the Chevrolet Volt that sort of switch in and out depending on what's going on. But in this car, there's been multiple scenarios, and again, maybe we'll hear it as we're sort of driving. It's tough to understand what the conditions are that need to happen in order for it to do it, but it is really vibrant. It does shudder the whole cabin. What I sort of do when that happens is I'll ease off the throttle so it goes back into charge and sort of like reset the drivetrain, if you will. And that seems to help, but I don't know if that's going to be a lingering issue in the future, but I'll definitely keep an eye on it for you guys as we sort of continue to rack up the miles here. Other than that, we've had no issues. We've been enjoying good gas mileage. That check engine light seemed to be a sort of freak issue. There's been no reliability things since then. I haven't experienced the sort of catalytic converter glowing red like others have when cold starting, and I've cold started it in pretty cold climates. Obviously, the snow is off the ground, but it is still pretty cold over here. 43 degrees today, but it was 28 this morning when I cold started it, and I didn't have any issues. So hopefully that answers your question, Justin, and we're going to be doing a better in-depth video about the things I like and dislike after the first 3,500 miles coming next week, but I wanted to get ahead of that question for you now. The next question comes by way of Adam Studham. He says, do you think the Lariat is worth the price increase over the XLT? Now, this is a great question, and Adam knows he's a money shifter. I feel it in my bones that Adam is an OG money shifter, and what that means is he knows that I put 8,000 miles on this Ford Maverick XLT all-wheel drive, and now I've put 3,500 miles on this Lariat Lux hybrid. And what I will say is if you are getting a hybrid, it is worth it to go full Lariat, because for the same price as an XLT all-wheel drive, you're getting the adaptive cruise, you're getting the noise-insulated windshield, you're getting the Bang & Olufsen audio system, you're getting a bunch more things that the XLT just does not have. But if you were getting a all-wheel drive truck, I would focus on the XLT, because now you're still in that $32,000 price bracket, but you got a bunch of features. The XLT with the Lux package comes with heated seats, heated steering wheel, heated mirrors, windshield wiper de-icer, spray and bed liner, the whole nine. And if you were to get a Lariat Lux in that all-wheel drive, price starts to creep up closer to that $40,000 mark, and now you're sort of losing the charm of a cheap Maverick. So to answer your question, yes, the Lariat is worth it in hybrid trim. No, the Lariat is not worth it in all-wheel drive trim because I think the price starts to climb a little bit too much. Hopefully that answers your question. Jeff Marr asks, any news on when the hybrid will be available in all-wheel drive? Now, Jeff, I don't have any direct connects to Ford at this time. Ford, hey, if you want to hit me up, I am more than willing to be your homie on the Maverick front lines. But as of right now, what I do know is that there is a lot of intrigue for an all-wheel drive hybrid version of the Ford Maverick, and that drivetrain exists in the Escape. We do have an Escape hybrid all-wheel drive, so there should be a way to sort of port that system onto the Maverick, and I think with the demand that this car has, it seems like an option that should be relatively easy enough. All right, now we got to get into James Dalton. James, I appreciate your question. This is like a three-parter, so give me some time as I'm going to go through it. This is going to be the last question that we're going to sort of end on here today, just because I want to split this up into two sections. So James has a lot of questions here, all of which I think were really great. James, shout out to you. Thank you for doing this. So let's get into them. Number one, how do the Active X seats feel compared to the XLT cloth seats? Is there a noticeable difference in comfort between the two? I am glad you asked, James. All right, let's take a look at these seats, shall we? These are the Active X seats. This is sort of a synthetic leather, if you will. It's actually very close to the vinyl that comes on the Bronco. If you guys have seen that, then you'll be very aware of like sort of how this looks and feels. Now, what I will say is these are very plush. They're nice, they're comfortable, but if I had to pick one seat, which one do I like better? The XLT sort of denim-y look or the fake leather that is the Active X seats? I actually would pick the XLT seats. You sit a little bit lower, they're a little more comfortable. That's not to say these aren't. It's very, very close, but I think the comfort level in the XLT and the materials on that sort of denim that you can see extensively in the XLT videos I have do a better job longer term. I actually really liked long drives in my XLT. Not that I don't in this. I got to make that known. I do like these seats. These are nice seats as well, but the comfort level in the XLT for me was a little bit higher. Also important to note, when we're talking about width, the XLT is a little bit wider here. The bolstering isn't as stiff. So if you are a man or woman with a waist above 38, the XLT seat is going to be a little bit more comfortable than the Lariat. Hope that helps to answer part one of your question, James. Part two, how has the performance been in the hybrid compared to the EcoBoost? Obviously, there is less horsepower, and the hybrid uses an eCVT, but can you tell much of a difference in your day-to-day normal usage of the vehicle? That's a great question, and then I'm going to read number three so that we sort of have all of it here. Have you noticed any issues with the HVAC in the hybrid when compared to the EcoBoost? And then number four, I'd love to see some videos of using the hybrid more like a truck. So we have those coming in the future, James, so I can't answer that one now, but I definitely have more videos like that in the future. Okay, so James asks, have you noticed any issues with the HVAC, and how's the performance? So let's talk about it. Issues with the HVAC. Yes, James, I have noticed an issue with the HVAC, especially when compared to my EcoBoost. My EcoBoost was bulletproof. I never saw a check engine light. I never heard any noise. I never heard any rattling. That thing was awesome. Put 8,000 miles on it. Loved every second of it. This vehicle, however, and its HVAC system, that vent is giving me so much annoyance, so much trouble. It's just a loud noise. The dealership has tried to tell me it's just, it's my ears playing tricks on me. The dealership has also told me that, hey, we hear it, but there's nothing we can do because you're Maverick owner number one to report this issue. So does it work? Yes. Am I able to get heat in really cold days? Yes. But that noise is, for lack of a better word, and excuse my language, if you have kids in the room, cover their ears, has been a royal pain in my ass. But your question about performance is a good one, because we have another question about performance that we are going to answer later on in the second part of this video series. your question is, how does it feel compared to the EcoBoost? And I gotta tell you, around town, you don't notice a difference, okay? The pep of this hybrid drivetrain is really, really great. The power is there. It's very smooth when that engine isn't, rattling away. But in terms of power delivery, let's see, we're going 35 miles an hour. If I just give it the beans here, okay? So 3, 2, 1, we'll just floor it. Accelerated to 50 relatively quickly there, and I gotta be honest, it probably mirrors the performance of the EcoBoost. Like, it's very similar in an around town setting. Where you notice the power difference between this hybrid and the EcoBoost is on the highway. That is where the difference starts to get magnified, and the higher horsepower rating of the EcoBoost comes into play. We'll show this in part 2 when we go onto the highway and display how this works, how the power works, how the Bang & Olufsen audio system works in part 2 of this video. But that's where this car, it doesn't feel slow, but it definitely lags behind the EcoBoost in terms of performance. But around town, I actually don't mind this eCVT system. I think it works really, really well. It doesn't really overly drone, because oftentimes around town, you're going to be in this sort of electric mode where you don't even hear the car. Watch, I'm gonna be quiet for the next, 30 to 45 seconds. Just take a listen at the overall experience of driving this car, and then we'll sort of gas it a little bit at lights so you can get a feel for the performance. All right, so I'm gonna shut up here. I know for Greeks that's hard to do, but I'm gonna be quiet. All right, so that is video number 1 of 2 in the books, where we're starting to answer some of your questions. In the next video, we're going to talk about this windshield. We're going to briefly touch on the Bang & Olufsen audio system, because now that we have a new audio setup, I want to have a more dedicated video for you guys just on that audio system. And we're going to talk about highway performance. So that is going to be the 2-part series that you see roll out today, Thursday, and Sunday of this week. And I am so excited. Now we got this new audio setup, and we're getting a new computer. This will make rendering videos a lot easier, and hopefully I'll be able to add a little bit more flair to these just to make it more entertaining for everyone. So thank you for submitting all of your questions, and thank you for your continued support to this channel. I am Thanasi. This is MoneyShift. We'll see you next time.